Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, we are going to be going over the top 3 rares in each affinity. It's been a while since I've done a video like this, so we need to get the updated middle of 2023 version so that you know you're not missing out on some of the best budget champions in Raid Shadow Legends. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so let's start with Magic Affinity because that is what our starting champions are going to be. And at number 3, I am actually going to go with Frozen Banshee in the Undead Hordes. Now, Frozen Banshee was added to the game a long time ago via the one and only official Battle Pass type mechanic that Plarium ever did here for Raid, and Frozen Banshee can be a really good option to help you progress into doing damage in areas like the Dragon and also the Clan Boss because of her poison and poison sensitivity on the A1. She can be very reliable to helping you ramp up those damage numbers in those situations. And at number 2, we are going to stick with those starting champions, and we are going to go with one of the most iconic and most commonly used champions in the game, the starter that most players pick for their initial champion to start their journey, and that is going to be Kayle. Now, Kayle, what sets him apart from the other starters that you have in Elaine, Athel, and Galek is the fact that he can place poisons. You've got your A1 right here that can be booked up to a 100% chance to place poisons. You've got a pretty solid AoE ability, and then you also have 4 poisons that can be placed on your A3. So Kayle, one of the best champions to get built on your account when you are early, and he's a lot of people's first 6-star when they're starting out in Raid. And at number 1, there is no debate. It is going to be the rare down here, Apothecary. He is an amazing support. You're gonna, like, for the first 6 months you play Raid, you're gonna use Apothecary everywhere, especially if you're not some huge high spender. If you're more towards free to play and low spender, Apothecary is one of the most impactful pulls you can get because he's cheaper to invest in being a rare, and he's got great heals and great support with his A2 that can crit heal on a 2-turn cooldown, which is super rare, and then he's got a 3-turn cooldown, full increased speed with turn meter boost to boot, and a 106 base speed. So Apothecary is an account changing champion when new accounts summon him. So that's our top 3 for Magic Affinity. Let's go on to Spirit Affinity. And we have got Soulbond Bowyers. So a cool thing to get in rare champions like a Bellower or a Soulbond Bowyer right here is an AoE A1. I actually, on my endgame account, I have 2 copies of Soulbond Bowyer built because you end up in a situation where you're trying to clear secret rooms that are niched down to having only rare attack champions, and I just build 2 Soulbond Bowyers in a stun set, and I spam the default A1, and I wait until I get good RNG and I'm able to clear. So you have somebody that can be really good early game spider, help you out a lot in progressing in Barbarian Faction Wars, and then also has end game viability in something like Doom Tower Secret Rooms. So Soulbond Bowyer is a great one to save a copy of and get ready to build on your account, at least at some point. And honestly, in my opinion, there aren't very many good spirit rares in the game. So honestly, these next 2 aren't super impactful, but I was struggling to find good ones to put on the list. Mother Superior is okay. I don't think she's a must build like some of the rares on this list, somebody like a Kayle or something, but she could be a decent healer with some shielding capabilities as well, and some AoE continuous heals with an all battle speed aura. So Mother Superior can be a pretty solid rare early in the game, just to think about watching out for. And then the last one that I want to go with here in Spirit Affinity rares is going to be Abyssal, and it's kind of the same reason to Soulbond Bowyer. You've got attack all enemies here on the default A1, and you can also block buffs for 2 turns. That's a pretty solid default ability for a rare champion to take note of. Again, if you're looking for those special situations like a Doom Tower Secret Room or something, he can have a lot of utility there and has an amazing default for a rare. And we're saving Void for last, so we're going to go over Force Affinity in the top 3 rares in Force. So definitely RARES is one that you're going to want to watch out for. I even use RARES in an unkillable Demon Lord composition in the end game. She can be very good for unlocking some of those compositions, and you're going to want all options available to you when you're trying to build your first unkillable composition or trying to get that snowball rolling on your account. So definitely keep a maxed out copy of RARES, and you actually can farm her in the campaign if you do end up not having a copy of her and you're trying to build an unkillable composition where she would help you get to that point. then you can go into the campaign and farm yourself up an heiress. I believe it is in stage 6 or 7. It's the one where the speed set drops, where you can get heiress from the campaign. And a similar story to heiress is going to be War Maiden here in the Barbarians. War Maiden is also available in the campaign. I think it's like stage 9 or 10, or area 9 or 10 of the campaign. And what makes War Maiden so cool is similar to why KO had value. You get a little bit of poisoning on the A1, but most importantly, you're going to get this AoE defense break on a rare champion, which is 100% reliability when booked, and also a 3-turn cooldown. And it's very scarce in the game that a rare is able to be that consistent with defense break. So you will see a lot of new players in Raid. Make sure to build a War Maiden out the gate. Pair that with their Kayle. War Maiden goes first, breaks the defense. Kayle comes through with the AoE nuke. And that ends up being a very popular early game setup. And then the last rare I want to go over here in Force Affinity is Grinner. I think Grinner gets not near enough love for how good he is as a rare in the early game to help people progress. You've got the increased attack buff on all allies here on the default, so it's going to be permanent. And then also, you've got the AoE chance of removing a buff strip that can book to a 3-turn cooldown. And you get revive and shield here on the A3 with a 110 base speed. So Grinner is a sneaky good rare that you'll want to consider if you come across him early in the game. And he can even help you progress somewhere like the Undead Horde Faction Wars, because he does have a revive and lots of utility here in his kit. And then lastly, we're going to move on to our top 3 Void rare champions. And we got to start with none other than also one of the most iconic champions in the game, similar to Kayle, and that is Coldheart. Now, what makes Coldheart so amazing, even in the end game, is the fact that she's got this Heart Seeker ability that is going to fully deplete the target's turn meter, has an extra chance to critical hit, and is going to be based on enemy max HP for damage. Plus, she has a lot of different utility here in the kit with AoEs and hitting multiple enemies and stuff. So you can get a lot of value out of Coldheart early game, mid game, and end game. And then keeping in the Dark Elves, we have got Painkeeper. Painkeeper is similar to Heiress, where even end game accounts and players are going to have certain unkillable compositions that will be enabled by Painkeeper. So you almost want to keep like 2 or 3 copies of Painkeeper, because again, you don't want to end up in a situation where you're like, oh, I wish I had Painkeeper because this would unlock a composition for me. And she is not one that you can get in the campaign. You'll have to get her from Void Shards. So I would hold on to 2 or 3 Painkeepers on your account so you don't end up in that situation. And the last rare that I want to talk about for the top 3 in Void is going to be Renegade. Now, Renegade, similar to Painkeeper, is going to have some manipulation ability that will help you unlock certain compositions and can be really good to unlocking some of those first seer speedrun type of teams, where you've got the A3 right here to decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns. And she also has a little bit of other utility as well. So Renegade is definitely a champion you're going to want to keep a copy or 2 of on your account. So in conclusion, for Magic Affinity, we had Apothecary, Kayle, and Frozen Banshee. For Spirit Affinity, we had Soulbound Bowyer, Mother Superior, and Abyssal. And then for Force, it was Eris, War Maiden, and Grinner. Lastly, with Void, it was Coldheart, Painkeeper, and Renegade as my top 3 rare champions in each affinity for Raid Shadow Legends. Let me know any down below that you feel should have made the list, or any that you disagree with. It's always fun to hear other perspectives as well. So I appreciate all of you. Remember to subscribe down below if you enjoy daily Raid Shadow Legends content, and I will see you soon in the next video. Thanks. Peace.